Hey everybody, this is a new official coming out video from me. This video is we're gonna send it out to my list, and it's gonna be on Facebook and the YouTube and all the things. And essentially what I want to share with you is that I am starting to use they, them pronouns. I've shared this with my family and most of my friends, and I wanted to make it kind of official because you're going to be seeing it, and many of you follow me and want to know what I'm up to, and so I wanted to share it with you. So I wanted to give you a little background and a little history for those of you who may be confused. I'm, again, Jay Pryor. I know you know who I am. But I was born female. I lived as a woman for 35 years. Then I took testosterone to make my body look like this. And that was 17 years ago. So for 17 years, I've been a woman in man skin, or I've been someone who I always identified myself as a trans man. So a little history, or at least from my perspective history, back in the day, back in 2001 when gender fluidity didn't exist and gender nonconformity didn't exist, if you were a trans person and you transitioned, you're a trans man and you transition, and you stayed identified as a trans man, like you would tell people you were a trans man, then kind of that was a knowing that you identified as an other, right? I called myself a genderqueer then. I still call myself a genderqueer. That's still, to me, what fits me the best. But that word isn't workable with work and with lots of other things, right? And so I've always said that I didn't take testosterone to be a man, right? So I've said this many times. You've heard me say it a million times. I never took testosterone to be a man. I took testosterone to get rid of the boobs and to grow the beard, right? It's what I wanted, and it's what I always wanted. And then the world started treating me like a man, and I was shocked, right? Remember, I was like, what? I wasn't prepared for that. And so what I learned was that I had been trained not just as a girl, but as a Midwestern woman, right? I had very clear training as a Midwestern woman. And so I've always spoken about that, right? I've always been in that conversation with you. We've always been talking about this. And nowadays, because now trans people are coming out more, and now there's this new word called gender non-conforming or non-binary, right? Or gender fluid. There's all kinds of words, right? And so depending on who you're talking to, for the general purposes, we're going to use the word gender non-conforming. So I was gender non-conforming before gender non-conforming actually existed, right? I was somebody who was born female, but I took testosterone, but then I said I never identified as, 100% man, right? I've always said I'm either neither or both, right? Or some other thing, right? You call me almost anything but late for dinner, basically. So my point is that nowadays, when I was coming up, we were also, there's lots of pronouns, other pronouns that were bantered about and that were tried, like Z, right? We tried to use the pronoun Z, them, that kind of thing. And they never seemed to take off. And then somewhere, something happened in academia. I don't know if anybody could, pinpoint how they, them, actually got started. But somewhere along the line, that happened. Now, if you're as old as I am and you're queer, you remember that way, way, way back in the day when we were in the closet as gay people, we would use they, them, right, to not have to tell people who our partners were, right? So if I'm a woman and someone says, oh, you have a date tonight? And I go, yeah. And she goes, oh, yeah. Tell me about that. And I go, well, they live here, and I would never say he or she because I didn't want people to know that I was dating a girl and I was a girl, right? Back then, that's how we used that. Nowadays, 100% turnaround, and they, them is being used by people like me who are gender non-conforming. So I have always gone into my transitional phases kicking and screaming. As a coach, I teach you all the time that what you resist persists, right? What you resist, what you push against will come stronger at you. And so I resisted they, them pronouns for a long time. I was like, they're not grammatically correct, and right? I resisted all that. And then one day I'm talking, or I'm giving a speech, and I'm talking about how I identify as female here, right? And then my body is male, so I'm treated as a man, right? And I'm giving, my talk. And, I stepped off the stage and I was like, I gotta start using they, them pronouns. It just makes more sense, right? I've always thought of myself as two people, right? Or both, man, woman, fluid, whatever. I've always said that. And so it just makes sense. So my requests of those of you who are my friends, Here's how this is going to go. Obviously, if you still call me he, I'm not going to be mad at you, right? That still works. And if you have a commitment to being accurate, I would love it if you would use they, them pronouns. And that's something that I think all of us can flex our muscle on. It's something that we teach, and that we teach to companies, and where we go, we teach everywhere, as to how to start using they, them pronouns. I put people in an exercise to tell a story about someone you love very much and switch their pronouns to they, them, because it's a practice, right? Something you have to practice. I also really want to invite you to notice what comes up for you about all the things I just said, right? Does it piss you off that I'm asking you to use they, them pronouns? Does it make you go, that's not my deal? I mean, does it make you irritated? Because I have had that response from people, and that response from people is, I've seen it everywhere. I had it initially, right? I mean, it's what we do. And I want you to look at what that's about, right? This is how we teach gender consciousness, is we start to look at what's going on over here that has me having to feel like I have an opinion whether you're a man or a woman, right? So is it any of your business whether I'm a man or a woman, and why do you care? And that's the kind of, consciousness raising, that being able to listen to me as a woman and see me as a man, right? That takes a pretty big level of consciousness, because you forget right away. And that's where we're moving, right? That's where we're shifting to. So what I want to share with you is that this is important to me. This is a huge shift for me in my business, because I've been doing these kind of trainings for a long time, but now I'm starting to really focus on it because it's such a need, right? And so if you need resources, if you need anything from me around that, please don't hesitate to ask me. But also, my request of you, if you're going to hang with me, is play the game. Start raising your consciousness around your own gender. For some reason we have a real dug in about this, and it can get real painful for trans people. So that's part of why I'm doing this, is to make that huge difference, and to start, especially in companies. Once Coca-Cola's doing they, them advertising, I might be done. I don't know. I'd like to work myself out of business, and so far that's really not happening, right? It's really not happening. And so this is coming on 7-minute video. And I usually try to keep it under 5. So I know I've been with you for a little bit. Thank you for taking the time today to listen to me, to be with me. It's kind of a new level of coming out. It's like I've come out a million times, first as a lesbian, then as a trans guy, then as somebody who connects up to source, to some kind of spiritual source, and now gender non-conforming, which, again, I've always identified as gender queer, but now this is the word, gender non-conforming, now is what's accurate. So I'm being accurate and being impeccable with my words when I'm using gender non-conforming and they, them pronouns, and I appreciate your willingness to also do that. So I love you and appreciate you, as always. Thank you.